The man, the myth, the legend, Dusty Dvoracek is in the house. How's your hump day treating you, Dusty?
It's treating me very, very well. This weather is treating me even better. I mean, I can't inject this into my veins. Hopefully, this continues for quite a while. And don't tell me, well, don't look ahead because there's bad. I don't want to hear about it if it's coming because it's been absolutely phenomenal here the last couple of days, and I'm 100% here for it.
Hey, I don't know. I'm sure that this. By the way, for those that aren't familiar or aren't aware, everyone's familiar with Dusty. Dusty does a morning show on Sirius XM. He gets up super early. It's 5 to 8 a.m. He and Danny Cannell figure out all the world's problems over on 84. And I don't know how much you guys got into it. Maybe it's a little bit more regionalized. But what'd you make of Mike Gundy trying to drum up a little bedlam for the spring game?
Chris Plank, that's not just regional. That's national to me.
Good.
I mean, third hour drive time. I mean, that was my big segment. Have you played the clip yet? I'm sure you have.
Yeah. We can play it again if you want to hear it.
I mean, it doesn't matter. I'll just
You've
say
heard
this.
Enough.
I'll just say this. I love it. I don't like it. I love it. We've talked about this with, I don't know what's going to happen. But there is more momentum right now for having some semblance of crossover, practice, scrimmage, game, whatever you want to call it, between, different football teams, and whether it's regionalized or, we've heard Fran Brown say, hey, we'll travel from Syracuse to Boulder, Colorado. Did you see the tweet last week from Joey McGuire, who tweeted at Deion Sanders and says, hey, we're game. Let's do it. He said, let's take it to Frisco and the Star, and let's sell tickets to it and get it on TV. There just seems to be a want to and a willingness to make something happen. And, I thought what Mike Gundy said, I loved it. Every bit of it. And so I'm hopeful that the rules that are in place that feel somewhat archaic to me, that they'll be removed, and at least there's the opportunity for programs, teams that want to do this, they can. Right? I think it makes a ton of sense. And, the only I'm just trying to poke a hole in it. I'm trying to find a negative. And I saw you guys put out I say you guys. I saw we at KREF put out a tweet, which social media at KREF is just rock stars.
It's your boy Tyler, man.
I need Tyler to run my social media because I don't do it enough. But if I had someone like him, I think it'd probably be good for me. But I looked at some of the comments, and the first couple that I saw, oh no, we're not going to do that because of injuries. Just think about it now. And what Mike Gundy was saying wasn't a game. He was talking about a controlled practice. He was talking about a controlled scrimmage where, he even mentioned, we want to take into account, do our best to limit injuries. You can get injured in practice. You can get injured, in workouts. You're never going to be able to completely eliminate injuries, but you can control this thing to where you get really good quality work. You actually are, I think, minimizing injury, because think about it on a given field. You don't have 22 of your guys going. You got 11 versus someone else's 11. And, as long as there's an understanding that, we're not going to take quarterbacks to the ground, we're going to stay up on defensive linemen, you're not putting yourself or your players at more risk in those scenarios than you are in an everyday practice. And to me, Plank, the players would, as a player, I would rather do that. I would rather get an opportunity at some point to go against someone else. See where I'm at. Get a feel. I'm tired of going against my guys. The fans would love it, especially as it relates to Bedlam. Are you kidding me? Whatever semblance we can get of Oklahoma and Oklahoma State on a football field, sign me up. I hope at some point we get back to having games. But until that takes place, to me, this is the second best option or solution. So fans win. I think players enjoy it. They get better. And did you hear what Mike Gundy said about, he said, and he just threw out a number, charge $25. And even if it's not a home and home, if it's just one, you split the gate, you do it every other year, rotate spots every year, and all that money goes back to NIL. Isn't every athletic department trying to find more ways to generate revenue?
Yeah.
Help me see where the negative is. Because if I may have blinders on, but I really like what Mike Gundy had to say. And will it happen? I don't know, but I continue to hear more and more coaches at least have the willingness and open-mindedness to say, hey, maybe we should take a look at this, and maybe we should really start to, venture down these different avenues that we never have in college football. And my last point, I'm sorry, I'm very long-winded here, but
it's good.
I love it because we're always thinking about, like, how do you grow the sport? How do you grow college football? And it's continued to grow, and we've expanded with playoff expansion and a lot of different things. But this is another way to own the calendar year-round. I mean, the NFL is king. And one thing that the NFL has mastered is being relevant 12 months out of the year. And I'm not saying that you're going to overtake the NFL, but if you think that this wouldn't generate that much more of a buzz with television networks, with fan bases, with everybody, and really just give a big jolt into spring football for college and continue to help expand that, I think you're crazy. So I see a lot of positives and very few, if any, negatives.
Yeah, I agree. Let me play the audio here real quick, just for those who haven't had a chance to hear it yet.
Great.
Exhibition.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's something that we've talked about. I think it's a great idea. I have kind of forgot about it until it got brought up. Somebody had texted me an article or something about that, and when you read it, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, honestly, for us, we should do a home and home with OU in the spring. They have I think ours is on, I don't know what the date is, but it's the Saturday prior to the last week, something like that. Okay, so they should come here on the 19th, and I think theirs is earlier in the year. We should go down there and play a home and home in the spring against them. Charge $25 a head. They can use it for NIL. We'll use it for NIL. If they don't want to do 2 in one spring, we can do one here this year, do it there next year, and split the gate. Because we get tired of practicing against each other. It's not going to be a live game because, I don't know what Coach Venables will say, but I would be concerned with making it live just because of injury. But nobody really has live scrimmages anymore, so you make it a full thud like we're doing and practice against them just like they do in the NFL. We're moving towards the NFL. Why not do that? So I think it would be a great idea. I'd be open to doing a here on the 19th. And
yeah, there you. Sorry, I just for some reason closed it, but you get the idea, right? I mean, it's something that he's obviously put a little bit of thought into.
And again, it's controlled, like maybe it's one-on-one pass rush, it's inside drill, it's 7-on-7. You split the stadium. One side, you can have pass rush going, and on both sides, you can have your D linemen against their O linemen, and then flip it. Their O line, your D line, and on the other side of the field, just like a practice. If you went out to a practice, you would see this taking place, and I love it, man. Like I would want to know. I'd like to, get a better feel for where I'm at as a pass rusher against a guard that isn't the same guard that I've gone against the entirety of, 15 practices. I think it'd be phenomenal. And, he just threw $25 out. Like, I don't know logistically, like, I don't know what it costs, for example. It's not free just to have an event at a stadium, right? You got to have security. Right. You got to have different people. I know the athletic department, there's cost incurred there. So I don't know, where all that's at, is what the amount is just to have an event even at your home stadium, because you have to staff people. There's cleanup. There's other things involved. So I don't want to sit and act like I know exactly what it costs. I don't. But, I think that you could figure those out. And if you could make it affordable, I mean, how quick do you think in Oklahoma State, let's just say it was just a practice, a full bona fide 2-hour full-fledged practice where you were going to get some good on good, 11 on 11, you were going to get individual drills. How quickly would that thing sell out in Norman, Oklahoma?
Quick.
Fact. I mean,
Yep.
you wouldn't have a problem. There'd be every butt in the seat. To go see John Mateer throw passes against Oklahoma State secondary, you kidding?
Heck yeah.
I mean, and again, like, is there a chance that you go out there and somebody gets banged up or gets injured? Yes. But there's also that chance every single time you take the practice field against your own guys. So, no idea what the likelihood of this is, boys, but man, I just like the conversation around it. I really do. And I hope that we get to a place where, potentially this can happen. And I just, this thing it's about, you got to continue to find ways to grow the sport. I think it does that. You got to continue, I think, to find ways in athletic departments to generate revenue. I think you can do that. As a player, you want to always continue to try to improve and do whatever you can to, develop as a player. I think it helps that. And I think most importantly, this thing is about the fans. It really is. Like, the fans make this go. The fans are why we live such amazing lives. And we get to talk about college sports on multiple platforms and make a living. And that be our profession. If fans weren't there for that, then this wouldn't happen. Right? There has to be that want, that demand. And I think it's really there. And I think that this, again, I think it gives the opportunity for fans to get fired up, get excited at an affordable price. Or if you can't make it, how quickly would ESPN jump to put these things on ESPN Plus or wherever it may be? I mean, ESPN, ESPN2, whatever it is, depending on the size of the, practice, scrimmage, whatever it may be. But I really think if you're looking at boxes to check, Josh, I think it checks every box.
I do too. Yeah, I think it's exciting to think about, and with the understanding that, look, we're discussing an idea at this point.
Yeah,
right?
and it may not happen, but
let's play with the hypothetical that it does, and it's successful. Do you view this as a potential pathway to getting an actual Bedlam game back?
Well, I would love that. And again, I think there'd be some that say, well, and I've seen it, you want a scrimmage when it doesn't count. Why don't we play when it does count? Look, I want to see Bedlam played every year. So I'm not, I recognize why Oklahoma State doesn't want to do that. It's not, possibly in their best interest. But you just look at the history of the rivalry and look at the record, and, I don't agree, but I see where, Oklahoma State's coming from in that perspective. But possibly, Josh, I think at some point it's going to come back around. I have a hard time believing we're never going to see Bedlam played as a game again. Does this extend an olive branch potentially? Maybe. I don't even know. But I just know that having that's better than having nothing. Like baby steps, man. Let's just do whatever we can to get there. Like this is a prideful state. Obviously Tulsa is definitely another, major university, and I don't want to just throw them to the wayside, but in this state, let's face it. There's Sooners and there's Cowboys, and they're going to continue to get after it in other sports. And boy, this is a state that loves its football, and I just think that in any way we can get those Sooners and Cowboys on a football field and watch them compete and get after a little bit and let their fan bases get excited about it, I think the better we are.
We got much, much more, and you guys have takes upon takes upon takes on this. Okie Drink Slinger, going to go out on a limb and assume that he might be a bartender, writes, no spring game, sack up and play Bedlam. I kind of like that.
He ain't messing around.
No, he's not. Here you go. OU Reformed Homer writes, OU spring dual practice. Just think how much the revenue would bring into each city's local businesses, 100%. Not to mention the tax dollars. Oh, right. man. Yeah, hey. For those, it would be like getting a game day in the middle of April like you would get with a spring game that you're not getting now in both of those places. And by the way, they haven't for a while in Stillwater. Like, Oklahoma's not doing a spring game this year, but Dusty, they haven't done one in Stillwater for a couple of years now.
Correct. That's exactly right. Yeah, Mike Gundy, he's had it more just kind of low key. They do like a scrimmage, but they have not made a big deal out of it whatsoever. That's a really good point. Local merchants, it would just be massive for them. And again, I was talking about some of the costs associated with to put on the event. I mean, what about the concessions, parking, all that?
Sure.
that you could rake in also. So keep going.
The 405. The downside of a spring Bedlam scrimmage is that you once again publicize a legitimate little brother. I say let them twist in the wind and on the Big 12 or whatever it is, Vine. Gumby is a joke. I mean, if you want to live in that world, fine. But I mean, come on, it's still they're playing college football at Oklahoma State. I mean, they're not shuttering the program there.
100%. Now, again, last year was shocking to me. The 0-9 Big 12 record. I mean, I'd picked them to win the Big 12. I think, as a lot of people thought they would. I mean, they played in the Big 12 championship 2 years ago. I expect that Oklahoma State's gonna get back to being a relevant Big 12 program. But I mean, like, even if you wanted to say that, like, I don't care if it was Tulsa. Mm-hmm. I don't care if it was TCU. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I would much rather see some semblance of Bedlam. That is choice number one. But to me, this isn't just a Bedlam take. This is just what I hope we get for spring in the future of college football. Now, obviously, Bedlam is the home run.
Right.
There's no doubt. But, like, and I would just say, like, if Oklahoma didn't want to do it and college football allowed this to happen, I think Mike Gundy would pick up the phone and call Tulsa.
Sure.
Or pick up the phone and call Arkansas. Again, I think makes the most sense to rekindle some semblance of Bedlam. But, like, I think he's looked at this now and said, I mean, he gave you the reasons. I don't have to recant them, but a lot of the same would apply if you scheduled an Oklahoma State Arkansas, do I think that would be as championed or there would be as much excitement around those fan bases? No, not as
Probably
a Bedlam,
not.
but I guarantee you Oklahoma State fans will be fired up to welcome Arkansas back in for, some type of practice. So anyway, I get it. I know the texter is not a big fan of Oklahoma State, and he's not going to. But even if you took Oklahoma State off the table, I would feel the same way about some other school if you were able to get it going. Maybe not the same way, but I'd still be very much in favor of it.
Yeah, me too. One more here, then Josh is going to jump in on some of these. And it's kind of funny because it seems like Nick has thank you, Gary. It seems like Nick has a very similar take to some of those that have been on the negative side. You don't want to play us in the fall, but a game doesn't affect your win-loss record in the spring. You're all for that. Go kick rocks and sandals, Gundy, and get over yourself. Still butthurt for never getting recruited by OU back in high school when your brother did. Now, come on, Nick. We don't have to be getting personal with this thing, but I'm kind of surprised by the negative backlash because it just seems like it would be a perfect thing right now.
And I guess it's like, so the thing that I don't get about that is it's like you're saying you're ignoring the benefit it has for Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. Like this isn't just wouldn't just be a win for Oklahoma State. It's a win for Oklahoma. I mean, it's generating additional money for NIL or for whatever it may be. It's an opportunity that what's his name? Is it
Nick. Yeah.
It's an opportunity for Nick to go watch his beloved Sooners and watch them dominate them Cowboys. Like, I don't know. Like, I get it. I mean, it sounds like he's like, oh, I'm not going to do anything good for Coach Gundy. I don't look at it as like some win for Coach Gundy. I look at it as a win for college football. I look at it as a win for Oklahoma football. I look at it as a win for Oklahoma fans, as much or more so than I do anything relating to Oklahoma State.
Dusty Dvoracek in the house with us on the ref. Brought to us by Yala Ghazni Attorneys at Law. If you've been in a car wreck, don't waste time. Get the help you deserve. Call Rob and Will, 405-800-8080, or in Tulsa, 918-800-8080. Experience the difference. Get back to life. Get more for your settlement with Yala Ghazni Attorneys at Law. You mentioned this program, Dusty, but I worry a little bit about some of the pay games out there in college football, just with the discussions of the Big Ten and the SEC. Are they maybe going to have a scheduling partnership? I know that's still up in the air, but if they do get to that point and you add an extra conference game for the SEC, well, all of a sudden the Tulsas and others of the world, I think it's more difficult for them to find those pay games. So I know we're talking about Bedlam, but I'd love to, if it's all three schools, get Tulsa involved in some capacity, and this gate for them could be really important.
Huge.
No doubt. And I'd be good with that too. What is the how they have like I was a part of this in high school. I think they have it now, like where you get like 3-4 different schools and you kind of go round robin.
Yes.
I mean, what who would be opposed to that? I mean, we're just throwing things here on the table. I love that idea for trying to generate some revenue for Tulsa. Lord knows of all these schools, they could use it the most, right? I mean,
Right.
that's just a reality. I think any way you can, help generate some revenue for that, that'd be awesome. It's interesting to see if all this talk does anything. If some of these coaches speaking up, having conversation, what it does. And the other thing too, I will just point out is I'm talking about all this under the presumption that we're going to move to one portal window that will be pre-spring football. That's been, that was voted on by all the coaches in a unanimous vote that, from what I've been told, once this House settlement that's now just weeks away, April the 7th, once that goes into effect, we could probably see some real movement on changing these portal windows. So that is one other caveat, that if anyone says, well, why would we show our players off when they can go transfer afterward? Like, again, I still fully recognize that aspect. I'm having this conversation in a world that I believe that we're going to get down to one portal window, and we're not going to have one in that post-spring football time frame.
Gosh, we got so much here, dude. You okay to keep cooking through
Come
these
on, man,
texts?
cook.
All right.
Cook.
Corey from Newcastle writes, Dusty, Gundy said charging $25. Do you think they could even jack it up to like $40? I just think the Bedlam tickets in the past years have been lower than $100. What do you think?
Bedlam tickets have been lower than $100?
Did I read that right? I just think that
I think
Bedlam
some of
tickets haven't been lower than $100. Sorry, yeah. My bad, Corey. My bad. Haven't been lower than $100.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I, if memory serves, I did the last two Bedlams, actually. And I seem to remember that the ticket price on those were really big. I think Mike Gundy just threw a number out there. I don't think he's put any. I think you could charge $50. What is? I don't know. I don't want to pretend to know. I mean, my family's gone to games, and I know that we paid for tickets. But what is a conference ticket cost right now to go to an Oklahoma football game?
Let's see. So I would guess
South Carolina, Oklahoma. What was South Carolina, Oklahoma? And I don't want to know what's on the, for a ticket
like
master,
the secondary.
But no, I don't care about that. What is on the ticket itself? Do we have any idea? It's got to be plenty of people.
We're going to get 8,000
know.
text
Yeah, that's
messages
fine.
on this.
We'll
so
just-
now that you've asked,
I don't
I'm just saying
know.
we'll get an answer. I don't know either. off
I
the
need
top
to
of my
have
head.
season tickets. I don't currently. I will at some point, but I don't right now. But I mean, I would say even if you charge $50, that's going to be a fraction of what you're going to pay throughout the course of the season. And one aspect of this that I've always loved about spring, and I'd still love to see, is that for the family that can't afford it, that they can can't afford the regular season tickets, that maybe this is at least an opportunity that if this is affordable enough that they could make it. That's another part of the spring, whatever we call it, spring practice, spring scrimmage, having this Bedlam in the spring, that it could still, make possible. That the problem would be, I think, this is my opinion, I think it would be so wildly popular that the numbers would actually go up. That there would probably be a secondary market for it. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Because I would just, and again, maybe I'm massively missing the mark here. I just think that people this time of year are chomping at the bit for some football. And we've seen that, especially with this Oklahoma fan base, which is as good as there is in the country. 40+ thousand, I would say, on the reg, and that's not including Coach Venable's first year where they packed the entire palace out.
Right.
Just to watch them play going against each other. Again, you put an Oklahoma State Cowboy helmet in that stadium and Oklahoma gets to go up against them. I think it'll be wildly popular. And so, yeah, could you charge 40? Sure, you could charge 50. You could probably keep going up and the demand would be there. It would diminish at some point, but I think that's part of it. How do you still make this, a really good deal for everybody, fans included, to where they're not having to break the bank to go watch their teams play?
Hey, one just college football question. What do you make of what happened at Stanford?
Oh, gosh, we haven't even talked about that. We haven't even talked about that today.
I thought that was a bombshell. That threw me off so bad, guy. I'm in the gym yesterday working out, and I hear this news come out, and I was just like, whoa. I mean, I give you 20 minutes on this. So my first thought on this, I mean, just look at the time. I mean, it's almost April. Kind of reminds me of Kansas. Remember whenever Les Miles got let go?
Yeah. Yeah. It was in the spring, wasn't it?
It was in the springtime. Lance Leipold was hired, I believe, in April. So just from a timing perspective, I was trying to remember the last major university where we saw something like this. It'd probably go back to that.
Great point. Yeah.
The Troy Taylor news came out last Wednesday afternoon about just some treatment of female employees and just different people within the Stanford football department. And there was an investigation. I think that was last Wednesday. And then I think everybody was so consumed with the NCAA tournament, it's like it kind of just flew under the radar.
It really did.
And then it didn't fly under Andrew Luck's radar. So Andrew Luck was hired November 30th. And we've talked about GMs for a couple of years now, but we're seeing legit bona fide GMs be hired. Case in point, Jim Nagy here at Oklahoma. And I think that throughout college football, there's still varying degrees as to, depending on the university, what role that general manager serves, right? Is he just in charge of personnel? Is it contract negotiations? Is it, balancing the salary cap? Or, in this case, do they have the power to hire and fire coaches, which I did not see coming? I was a big Andrew Luck fan when he was a player at Stanford. I was an Andrew Luck fan when he was a player for the Indianapolis Colts. But Andrew Luck is 35. He's 35.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He has essentially no background in this field whatsoever. And Stanford, they said when they hired him back in late November, they said that he's going to be, this is more than just your typical, what we've seen GM role. He's going to have a massive impact essentially on this football program. And boy, is he ever. Now, it's also worth pointing out the Stanford athletic director, I believe it's Bernard Muir, he stepped away late February. And he had been the athletic director for 13 years. So I don't think currently there is an athletic director. So Andrew Luck right now, he's running the show. And he has said that, Troy Taylor, whether it's just this incident or it's the back-to-back 3-9 seasons, probably a combination of both, that in every aspect that the Stanford program is not where it should be. And now we are seeing Andrew Luck going to be the man that picks the next head coach for the Stanford Cardinal. It's just fascinating. And all the talk we've had about general managers, Plankett, never has crossed my mind that a general manager could wield this kind of power in college football. And so it's just fascinating on so many fronts. And I am unbelievably intrigued to see what type of, search is conducted here. Greg Roman was the associate head coach at Stanford when he was there. He is currently the offensive coordinator at the LA Chargers. I would keep an eye on that. Chuck Pagano was the head coach at Indianapolis when Andrew Luck was there. Mm-hmm. He left coaching for a while, just went back as the Baltimore Ravens, a secondary coach for the Ravens. I would keep an eye on that. I think Andrew Luck is going to swing and try to swing big. Is he going to connect and hit? I don't know, but this entire thing is just fascinating on so many levels. And it's a 35-year-old, young man who obviously cares a lot about his program. I think that he seems to be the smartest guy in just about any room that he sits in, but he is now sitting in a seat and his job is pretty clear. I mean, he has got the opportunity to be the architect of the Stanford football program from the ground up. And I just don't think we've ever seen anything quite like this. It's fascinating on every level.
I hear you, man. Gosh, great. I had completely forgot about that. Great stuff. Hey, Dusty, enjoy your Wednesday, man. We will talk to you next Tuesday. Have a great weekend.
Sounds good, Plank. Thanks, buddy.